All right, Algebra 2, we are taking a little deeper look into the vertex form of quadratic formula, of quadratic functions. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday. I don't really think we need to talk about this anymore, but there's two methods. The method at the top is finding the axis of symmetry, and then using that to plug in and find the y, and then that will give you your x and y that you can just plug into your vertex form, which is right here. So don't need to really talk about that much more, but what we can talk about is once we find our vertex form, we can go ahead and figure out, okay, what is our domain and range? Okay, so what we're going to do is do one of these two problems that you did for homework so you can kind of check your work, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at what our domain and range would be due to what happened in our problem. Okay, so these are both in standard form, so I'm going to go ahead and do this first one by completing the square. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and exchange this for a 0 and add 5 to the other side. So I've got x squared minus 2x plus something equals 5 plus that same something. And so that number that it's going to be is going to be half of negative 2, so 1, and then 1 squared is 1. So I add 1 to both sides. And so on this side I've got x minus 1, because 1 squared is 1. So x minus 1 parentheses squared equals 6. And then I go ahead and subtract the 6 to get that to be 0. So x minus 1 squared minus 6 equals 0. And then replace the y, or the 0 with y, to return it to vertex form. And there we go. So my vertex here is positive 1 and negative 6. So there's my vertex form. So let's now turn our attention to the domain and the range. And so the only thing you need to do there is understand what the parent function is, which is x squared. Okay, so this is what that would look like, a parabola. Now, depending on where it opens, we should know what our vertex would be. So since this is positive a in front, we would have a positive or going up U-shape. Okay, so the domain doesn't really change much. We've talked about that already. But the range, since it's an up-pointing parabola, that vertex is going to be the bottom of the U-shape. Okay, I don't need to actually graph it. I just need to conceptualize that, okay, the bottom y value is my vertex y value, which is right here. So negative 6 is my bottom x value, and then it goes up forever. And so that would be my domain and my range. Okay, and that's completing the square, followed by figuring out your domain and range. So let's do this again, but this time the other method, which is finding the AOS first, axis of symmetry, followed by vertex. So let's go ahead and find our axis of symmetry here. X equals negative b, which is 36, over 2 times a, which is 2. So that's negative 36 over 4, which gives us negative 9. So that's our x value. And we're going to go ahead and plug that in to find our y value. So y equals 2 times negative 9 squared plus 36 times negative 9 plus 170. Okay, and I'm just going to type that into my calculator real quick and figure out what that is. So 81 times 2 plus 36 times negative 9 plus 170. And I ended up with 8. Okay. I'm going to double check my math because I kind of went out of order here. Just going to do that one more time in my calculator. And okay, I got 8 again. So my vertex is negative 9, positive 8. Vertex form is y equals parentheses x plus 9, opposite, plus 9 squared, and then plus 8. And then again, we talked about this in class, but your a value in front should be your a value in your vertex form. And there's my vertex form, okay? So now, last thing, look at our domain and range. Again, this is a parabola, so since it's a parabola, we're going to have it negative infinity to positive infinity for domain. And then the range, again, depends on your a value. So since this is a positive a value, I know it's pointing upward, and my vertex would be at the bottom of the U shape. So the bottom y value would be 8. So 8 would be my bottom y value all the way up to infinity. And there is my domain and range. Okay? So what you're going to do for homework is that exact same concept. You find the vertex. You find the vertex form and domain and range for all of these remaining problems. Now, some of you are working ahead and getting those 10 problems done or getting a head start on those. If you're finished with those, all you need to do is do the domain and range. Okay? So your homework is to finish this worksheet. Okay? Or finish the back side of this worksheet. Okay? Include domain and range. Include domain and range. Okay? So get to it. You have the rest of the class to do so, and your teacher, your sub, is going to collect that at the end of the period. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.